Now, we've mentioned data bias a number of times. We mentioned Timnit Gebru. And we have to note that the problem with deep learning algorithms and these more complex AI structures is that, as researchers like to call it, they're black boxes, basically. So we create a system of neural networks and we tell them how they should take in a large amount of data, but we don't necessarily have any control over how that sorry about that, how that data is processed. And that has caused biases because of the fact that these corpuses have different historical backgrounds to them. But how can we try to adjust these systems regarding those biases? What measures can be taken?
So I know that there's a lot of focus with interpretability and explainable AI, because of course this issue with black box, which I think is very common specifically in deep neural networks, right? They're the algorithms that are worse in that sense. I know that there's a lot of focus from different conferences. For example, I really follow this conference called FACT, which is Fairness, Accountability and Transparency of Algorithmic Systems, that there's a lot of focus on trying to develop systems that could explain why they reach a certain outcome or a certain explanation. So that could be a way. There's also like a lot of people that say that perhaps, especially when we are talking about high stakes decisions, perhaps we should not use systems that are really black box. Because if we cannot really explain why there is that decision, maybe it doesn't mean that maybe the system is not as good as we think. Because it could maybe act in ways that we are unpredictable and maybe harmful. So that's maybe that should be also something to be considered, or perhaps also the usage of different methods, perhaps like maybe by developing a system using trying different algorithms and then see which is the one that shows us that is like the least black box in that sense. I would say that would be something to look for. And in general for bias, as I mentioned, like the data is very important. And there's also a lot of research that tries to get the affected people part of like the development process. So it's like a way that is called like participatory design or co-design. So it means that try to expand the idea of who is the people that are actually developing the systems, because the people that are affected could also bring a lot of knowledge about their realities and about their life experience. So trying to bring these people into that basically that they are not only asked, but that they are actually like really part of the team. That would be something that could prevent also from having all these biases, I would say.
Do you think that there is a necessity for minorities to be involved in the creation of these systems for them to be unbiased?
I don't know if it's a necessary requirement, but I would say that it will probably help, because currently there is almost non-existent that this happens. So I would say that at least getting a different perspective would probably be a way to go forward. But as I was mentioning before, that it's not one thing. It's like many things that are causing this bias. I'm also sometimes also like thinking that perhaps maybe the best sometimes could be to not use AI. Also, like maybe not AI is not the solution for all the problems. I think that there's some problems that could need more interpretable or more maybe rule-based algorithms. So perhaps we don't really necessarily need to implement AI in all cases. So that should be like something that we should really think through in the beginning, like why AI is good in this specific context. What are we gaining and what are we missing? Or what are we risking by using AI?
We have been moving towards, I think at the beginning we moved towards these deep learning systems that were completely unsupervised. They just allow the transformer model to go through a very large corpus. But one reason that, for example, ChatGPT has been so positively reviewed so far is because it has had a humongous amount of supervision, human supervision, of people going through the data, asking it different types of questions, and at any time having any bias, they've pointed that out, and through reinforcement learning, they've tried to readjust these type of biases. So perhaps even in a high stakes situation, if we have a semi-supervised systems that we try to curtail these type of different biases, we could have more impartial systems that are equal for everyone.
I agree. Yeah, there's a lot of, I know there's like many researchers that are really, they are really trying to advocate more for more like a AI as a support rather than replacement. Because especially for high stakes, I would say it's quite important to have some monitoring or some kind of human in the loop, right? To avoid those unpredictable and potential negative outcomes. There's like more and more like this idea that systems should be interpretable, should be transparent, and that there should be some humans monitoring the process and even not completely automated, but rather semi-automated, as you were saying, or even more as a support for the decisions.